Hidden beneath everyday behavior is a reality that most people never stop to examine. Every day, billions of people speak, react, think, and make decisions in ways that follow surprisingly predictable patterns. Psychologists have spent decades studying these patterns, and what they discovered is both fascinating and unsettling. Most people believe they are completely normal, living ordinary lives with ordinary habits. Yet certain behaviors appear so rarely that when researchers identify them, they often point to minds that operate differently from the average person. Not better, not worse, just different. The surprising part is that many of these behaviors seem completely ordinary on the surface. In fact, some people practice them every single day without realizing what they reveal about their personality, intelligence, emotional depth, or way of seeing the world. The human brain is constantly searching for patterns. It learns what is common, what is expected, and what fits within the behavior of the majority. This is one reason people naturally compare themselves to others. They want to know whether their thoughts, habits, and reactions are normal. But psychology shows that normal is not as simple as most people think. In psychological terms, normal often means what is most common. It refers to behaviors that appear frequently across large groups of people. The moment a behavior becomes common, psychologists begin asking important questions. Why does this person think differently? Why do they react differently? What is happening beneath the surface that most people cannot see? Sometimes the answer is linked to intelligence. Sometimes it is connected to creativity. Sometimes it reveals emotional sensitivity, deep self-awareness, or a unique way of processing information. What makes this topic so fascinating is that some of the most unusual traits are hidden in plain sight. History is filled with individuals who were considered different long before the world recognized their abilities. Many of them displayed habits that seemed strange to others, but later became clues to extraordinary minds. Modern psychology continues to uncover these hidden connections, revealing that certain everyday behaviors may tell us far more about a person than anyone realizes. Throughout this video, you will discover a series of habits and behaviors that psychologists find surprisingly uncommon. Some may challenge what you believe about yourself. Others may explain feelings or experiences you have never been able to put into words. And as we move forward, the behaviors become increasingly revealing, leading to one insight that many people overlook, despite its powerful connection to the way the human mind works. By the end of this video, you will understand why certain actions stand out from the crowd, what they may suggest about the people who display them, and why being different is not always a disadvantage. In many cases, it can be a sign of qualities that are rarely discussed but deeply important. Stay with us until the end, because the final behavior may completely change the way you see yourself and the people around you. Welcome to the channel. If you enjoy exploring the hidden psychology behind human behavior, make sure to subscribe and join us for more insights into the mysteries of the mind. One of the most misunderstood behaviors in human psychology is talking to yourself. Many people hear someone speaking aloud when nobody else is around and immediately assume it is unusual. Yet psychologists have known for years that self-talk is often connected to healthy mental functioning. In fact, some researchers argue that it can be a powerful tool for organizing thoughts and improving performance. The reason is simple. The human mind is constantly producing information. Ideas appear, memories surface, emotions compete for attention, and problems demand solutions. When these mental activities remain trapped inside the mind, they can become difficult to organize. Speaking thoughts aloud creates structure. It turns abstract thinking into something more concrete. This allows the brain to process information in a clearer way. A person trying to solve a difficult problem may begin speaking through the situation step by step. They may ask themselves questions. They may repeat important details. They may even answer their own questions out loud. To an outside observer, this can appear strange. To a psychologist, it often looks like active problem solving. Athletes frequently use self-talk to improve performance. Students use it while studying. Professionals use it while completing complex tasks. The brain is not having a conversation with an imaginary person. It is using language as a tool to guide attention and improve focus. Self-talk also plays an important role in memory. Many people naturally repeat information aloud when trying to remember it. A person searching for their keys may quietly repeat where they last saw them. Someone preparing for an important presentation may rehearse points aloud multiple times. Speaking information activates additional mental pathways, making it easier to store and retrieve later. This is one reason teachers often encourage students to explain concepts in their own words. The act of verbalizing information strengthens understanding. Perhaps the most surprising fact is that psychologists do not generally view healthy self-talk as a sign of madness. Popular culture often creates that impression, but scientific research paints a very different picture. Mental illness involves much more than simply speaking aloud. Healthy self-talk remains connected to reality. The person knows they are speaking to themselves. They are using language as a thinking tool. In many cases, frequent self-talk is associated with greater self-regulation and stronger cognitive control. Instead of losing touch with reality, the person may actually be engaging more deeply with it. This brings us to another behavior that many people secretly experience. Long after a conversation ends, their mind continues returning to it. Hours later, they replay specific sentences. They analyze facial expressions. They examine their own responses. They think about what they could have said differently. Sometimes, this process lasts for days. Most people assume this habit is simply overthinking, but psychology suggests there is more happening beneath the surface. Human beings are social creatures. Every interaction contains large amounts of information. During a conversation, the brain processes words, tone of voice, body language, emotional signals, and social expectations all at once. Much of this information is too complex to fully analyze in real time. As a result, the brain often continues processing the interaction afterward. This process is known as social processing. The mind reviews the experience, searching for lessons, patterns, and meaning. For some individuals, this replay system becomes especially active. They remember small details others forget. They revisit moments repeatedly. They analyze whether someone seemed sincere. They wonder why a particular comment felt uncomfortable. They question whether they communicated their ideas clearly. While this habit can sometimes become excessive, it is often connected to self-awareness. The person is not simply trapped in endless thought. They are examining social experiences in an attempt to understand themselves and others more deeply. Highly analytical people appear especially likely to engage in this behavior. Their brains naturally search for explanations and patterns. Instead of accepting an interaction at face value, they explore multiple interpretations. They want to know why people behave the way they do. They want to understand motivations, intentions, and hidden meanings. This tendency can be exhausting at times, but it also contributes to deeper insight. Analytical minds often discover details that others overlook because they continue examining situations long after everyone else has moved on. Another behavior that often separates people from the crowd is enjoying time alone. Modern society sometimes treats solitude as a problem that must be fixed. People are encouraged to stay connected, remain available, and constantly engage with others. Because of this, individuals who genuinely enjoy being alone are sometimes misunderstood. Others may assume they are lonely, antisocial, or unhappy. Psychology tells a different story. Loneliness and solitude are not the same thing. Loneliness is the painful feeling that comes from lacking meaningful connection. Solitude is the deliberate choice to spend time alone. One is often unpleasant. The other can be deeply rewarding. A person experiencing loneliness wants connection, but cannot find it. A person enjoying solitude values connection, but also appreciates time away from social demands. Research has repeatedly found interesting connections between intelligence and comfort with solitude. This does not mean every intelligent person prefers isolation. Human behavior is far more complex than that. However, studies suggest that some highly intelligent individuals feel less dependent on constant social interaction for satisfaction. They often gain fulfillment from learning, creating, reflecting, and pursuing personal interests. Their minds remain active even when nobody else is around. Mental space plays an important role in this process. The modern world bombards people with information. Notifications, conversations, entertainment, and responsibilities compete for attention every minute of the day. Solitude creates a rare opportunity for the brain to slow down and process experiences. It allows thoughts to develop without interruption. It provides room for reflection. Many people discover their clearest ideas during quiet moments when external distractions disappear. Creativity also appears closely linked to periods of solitude. Creative thinking requires the ability to explore possibilities, connect unrelated ideas, and examine problems from different perspectives. Constant stimulation can interfere with this process. When people spend time alone, their minds gain freedom to wander. New connections emerge. Insights appear unexpectedly. Solutions reveal themselves. Some of history's most innovative thinkers intentionally protected periods of solitude because they understood its value. As the brain becomes more observant during these quiet moments, another unusual trait often begins to emerge. Some people notice details that others completely miss. They detect subtle changes in tone. They recognize shifts in facial expressions. They identify inconsistencies in stories. They notice patterns that seem invisible to everyone around them. These observations may appear insignificant at first, but they often reveal important information. A simple change in someone's voice can communicate far more than words alone. A slight hesitation, a brief pause, a sudden change in energy. Most people focus primarily on the content of a conversation. Highly observant individuals pay attention to how the content is delivered. They understand that communication operates on multiple levels at the same time. Facial expressions provide another example. Human faces constantly transmit information. Small movements around the eyes, mouth, and forehead can reveal emotions before a person consciously expresses them. Some individuals seem naturally skilled at detecting these signals. They notice discomfort hidden behind a smile. They recognize tension concealed beneath calm behavior. They sense emotional changes long before they become obvious. Part recognition plays a major role in heightened observation. The human brain naturally searches for recurring information. Some people appear especially sensitive to these patterns. They remember previous behaviors. They compare current actions with past actions. When consistencies appear, their attention immediately focuses on them. This does not necessarily mean they become suspicious. Instead, their brains are simply more likely to detect deviations from expected patterns. Psychologists believe heightened observation often develops through a combination of personality traits, life experiences, and cognitive tendencies. Some individuals are naturally more attentive to environmental information. Others develop strong observational skills because of experiences that required them to pay close attention to people. Over time, these habits become automatic. The person begins noticing details without consciously trying. This heightened awareness often connects to another behavior that many people struggle to understand. Certain individuals feel emotionally exhausted after spending time around specific people. They leave conversations feeling drained. Their energy disappears. Their mental resources feel depleted. Yet they may have done nothing physically demanding at all. Emotional sensitivity plays a major role in this experience. Sensitive individuals often absorb more emotional information from their surroundings. They notice tension, they detect frustration, they recognize hidden sadness. Their brains process emotional signals at a deeper level. While this can create strong empathy, it can also increase emotional fatigue. Empathy allows people to understand and share the feelings of others. It strengthens relationships and promotes compassion. However, empathy also carries a cost. When someone constantly absorbs the emotional states of people around them, they may begin carrying emotional burdens that do not belong to them. Over time, this creates exhaustion. The person is not weak. Their emotional system is simply working harder than most people realize. Social energy functions differently for different individuals. Some people gain energy from social interaction. Others spend energy during social interaction. Neither approach is superior. They simply reflect different psychological tendencies. Problems often arise when people ignore their natural limits. A person who needs recovery time may push themselves into endless social situations and wonder why they feel overwhelmed afterward. This is where psychological boundaries become essential. Boundaries are not walls designed to keep people away. They are limits that protect emotional well-being. Individuals with strong boundaries understand that caring about others does not require carrying every emotional burden they encounter. They recognize when a relationship becomes draining. They understand the importance of preserving their own mental energy. Without boundaries, emotional sensitivity can become overwhelming. With healthy boundaries, it becomes one of the most valuable social strengths a person can possess. Another behavior that quietly separates certain people from the majority is the habit of constantly questioning things. At first glance, this may not seem unusual. Everyone asks questions from time to time. Everyone wants answers. But there is a significant difference between asking questions to gather information and questioning the deeper meaning behind what is accepted as normal. Most people move through life relying on assumptions they rarely examine. They accept common beliefs because everyone around them accepts them. They follow routines because those routines seem familiar. They trust information because it is repeated often enough to feel true. Yet some individuals find this difficult to do. Their minds naturally push beyond the surface. They want to know why things work the way they do. They want to understand the reasoning behind decisions, traditions, rules, and behaviors. When presented with a popular opinion, they do not automatically reject it, but they do not automatically accept it either. Their first instinct is to investigate. Curiosity sits at the center of this tendency. Curiosity is more than simply wanting to learn facts. It is a desire to explore uncertainty. It is the willingness to admit that there may be more to a situation than what is immediately visible. Curious people often spend large amounts of time thinking about subjects that others barely notice. A simple event can trigger dozens of questions. Why did that happen? What caused it? Is there another explanation? What information might be missing? This mental habit creates a deeper relationship with knowledge. Instead of collecting information passively, curious individuals actively interact with it. They challenge it, they test it, they explore it from different angles. Psychologists have long recognized curiosity as one of the driving forces behind learning and intellectual growth. Children naturally display this trait. They constantly ask questions about the world around them. As people grow older, many gradually lose some of that curiosity. Responsibilities increase. Routines become familiar. Life becomes predictable. But some individuals maintain that questioning mindset throughout adulthood. They continue exploring ideas with the same intensity they displayed years earlier. Their curiosity never fully disappears. In many cases, it becomes even stronger. Closely connected to curiosity is critical thinking. While curiosity asks questions, critical thinking evaluates answers. It requires the ability to examine information carefully rather than accepting it at face value. A critical thinker does not immediately trust every claim they encounter. They look for evidence. They consider alternative explanations. They examine whether a conclusion actually follows from the facts. This process often creates a noticeable difference between highly analytical individuals and the average person. When most people hear a statement repeated often enough, it begins to feel familiar. Familiarity creates comfort. Comfort creates acceptance. Critical thinkers resist this automatic process. They understand that repetition does not guarantee accuracy. This tendency often leads to skepticism. Unfortunately, skepticism is frequently misunderstood. Many people confuse skepticism with negativity or cynicism. In reality, healthy skepticism is simply the habit of withholding certainty until enough evidence exists. A skeptical person does not assume everything is false. They simply refuse to assume everything is true. They remain open to possibilities while demanding proof. This mindset protects people from misinformation, manipulation, and poor decision-making. What makes this behavior unusual is that questioning requires effort. Accepting information is easy. Following the crowd is easy. Repeating popular opinions is easy. Independent thinking demands energy. It requires people to tolerate uncertainty. It requires them to admit they may not know the answer. Many people prefer quick certainty because uncertainty feels uncomfortable. Analytical individuals often accept uncertainty as part of the learning process. They understand that confusion can be temporary. They know that deeper understanding usually requires patience. This constant questioning can create challenges. People who think differently sometimes find themselves at odds with social expectations. Others may view them as difficult or overly analytical. They may be told they think too much. They may be encouraged to stop asking questions and simply accept things as they are. Yet throughout history, progress has often depended on individuals who refuse to stop questioning. Scientific discoveries, technological innovations, and social improvements frequently began with someone asking a question that others ignored. As this habit develops, another unusual characteristic often appears. Some people need more time before responding. In conversations, they rarely deliver instant answers. They pause, they think, they consider possibilities before speaking. In a culture that often rewards speed, this behavior can be misunderstood. Fast responses are frequently associated with intelligence and confidence. Slow responses are sometimes mistaken for uncertainty or hesitation. Psychology suggests the reality is far more complicated. The human brain processes information in different ways. Some people prefer rapid reactions. They think out loud. They explore ideas as they speak. Others process information internally before expressing it. Their thoughts move beneath the surface. Instead of sharing every idea immediately, they evaluate possibilities privately before reaching a conclusion. This deeper processing often requires additional time. When a question is asked, the brain begins evaluating information from multiple directions. It searches memory. It analyzes context. It predicts consequences. It considers alternative interpretations. For some individuals, this process happens quickly enough to produce an immediate response. For others, the process continues longer because they naturally examine more variables. They are not slower thinkers. They are often more thorough thinkers. Deep processing can be observed in many areas of life. A person may take longer to make important decisions because they consider long-term consequences. They may pause before responding during disagreements because they want to understand the situation fully. They may spend extra time evaluating information before forming an opinion. While this approach sometimes delays action, it often improves accuracy. Thoughtful communication grows from this same tendency. Words carry consequences. A single sentence can strengthen a relationship, damage trust, resolve conflict, or create misunderstanding. People who value thoughtful communication recognize this reality. Instead of speaking impulsively, they choose their words carefully. They think about how their message will be interpreted. They consider both facts and emotions. They understand that communication is not simply about expressing thoughts. It is also about ensuring those thoughts are understood correctly. One of the most common misconceptions involves the relationship between introversion and intelligence. These two traits are often confused, yet they are not the same thing. Introversion refers to how people gain and spend social energy. Intelligence refers to cognitive ability. An introverted person is not automatically more intelligent than an extroverted person. An extroverted person is not automatically less intelligent than an introverted person. However, some behaviors associated with introversion can resemble deep thinking because introverted individuals often spend more time processing information internally. This internal processing creates an interesting effect. Introverted individuals may appear quiet during discussions. Observers sometimes assume they have nothing to contribute. Then, when they finally speak, they offer a thoughtful insight that changes the direction of the conversation. Their silence was never empty. Their minds were actively working behind the scenes. Quick answers are not always smarter answers. Speed and accuracy do not always move together. A person who answers immediately may be drawing on familiar information or instinctive reactions. Sometimes this works well. Other times it leads to mistakes. A slower response often indicates that additional mental resources are being used. The person is examining details. They are considering possibilities. They are testing ideas before presenting them. Modern culture often celebrates immediate reactions. Social media rewards quick opinions. Fast decisions are praised. Instant responses are expected. Yet some of the most important decisions in life benefit from careful thought. Relationships, careers, finances, and personal goals all involve complexities that cannot always be understood in a matter of seconds. Individuals who naturally slow down before responding often recognize this. They understand that a few extra moments of thought can prevent costly mistakes. As people become more curious, more analytical, and more reflective, another experience frequently emerges. They begin feeling different from most people around them. This feeling can be difficult to describe. It is not necessarily arrogance. It is not a belief that they are better than others. Instead, it is the sense that their mind operates according to a different rhythm. Their interests may not align with those of the majority. Their priorities may seem unusual. Their perspectives may differ from social expectations. Many people experience this feeling at some point in life. For some, it becomes a recurring theme. They enter conversations and struggle to relate to topics that excite everyone else. They find themselves interested in ideas that receive little attention. They spend time thinking about questions that rarely appear in everyday discussions. This can create a sense of distance between themselves and the people around them. Feeling misunderstood often becomes part of the experience. Communication depends on shared assumptions. When people view the world differently, misunderstandings become more likely. An individual may express an idea that feels obvious to them, only to discover that others interpret it completely differently. They may struggle to explain thoughts that seem clear in their own minds. Over time, this can create frustration. Different interests frequently contribute to this feeling. Human beings naturally connect through shared experiences and shared passions. When someone's interests fall outside common social trends, finding those connections becomes more difficult. They may enjoy learning about psychology, philosophy, science, history, or complex systems, while people around them focus on entirely different subjects. This does not make either group right or wrong. It simply creates different points of attention. Different priorities can have a similar effect. Some people prioritize status. Others prioritize knowledge. Some pursue financial success above all else. Others pursue freedom, creativity, or personal growth. When priorities differ significantly, life choices begin moving in different directions. People may struggle to understand decisions that make perfect sense to someone with a different set of values. Different ways of thinking often represent the deepest source of this feeling. The human mind does not process reality in exactly the same way for everyone. Some individuals focus on immediate experiences, constantly search for patterns and connections. Some think primarily in practical terms. Others spend large amounts of time exploring abstract ideas. These differences influence everything from conversations to decision-making. At this point, an important realization begins to emerge. Throughout this video, we have explored behaviors that many people consider unusual. Talking to yourself, replaying conversations, enjoying solitude, noticing details others miss, feeling emotionally drained by certain individuals, constantly questioning assumptions, taking time before responding, feeling different from the people around you. On the surface, these habits may seem disconnected, yet they often share a common theme. They reflect a mind that engages with the world differently. This leads to one of the most important insights in psychology. The goal is not to become normal. The goal is to understand how your mind works. Many people spend years trying to force themselves into patterns that do not fit them. They compare themselves to others. They worry about standing out. They fear appearing unusual. They assume that fitting in is the same thing as thriving. But history repeatedly tells a different story. Many of the most creative, intelligent, and influential individuals ever known were considered unusual by the standards of their time. Their habits looked different. Their interests looked different. Their priorities looked different. Some preferred solitude. Some questioned accepted beliefs. Some spent years exploring ideas that nobody else understood. Many faced criticism precisely because they refused to think like everyone around them. The qualities that make a person feel different today may be the same qualities that allow them to see opportunities others miss tomorrow. The behaviors that appear unusual on the surface often reveal deeper strengths beneath. A questioning mind can discover new truths. A reflective mind can develop deeper wisdom. A curious mind can continue learning long after others stop. A thoughtful mind can avoid mistakes created by impulsive decisions. Understanding these traits begins with recognizing them, not as flaws that must be hidden, but as clues to how a unique mind experiences the world. So if you recognized yourself in several of these behaviors, don't panic. It does not mean something is wrong with you. It may simply mean your mind processes the world in a different way. While many people spend their lives trying to blend in, psychology continues to show that some of the most interesting human qualities exist outside what society considers normal. The ability to think deeply, question assumptions, enjoy solitude, notice hidden details, or feel emotions more intensely is not necessarily a weakness. In many cases, these traits are the foundation of creativity, wisdom, self-awareness, and personal growth. The truth is that normal is often just another word for common. But being common has never been the requirement for living a meaningful life. Every breakthrough idea, every new perspective, and every major change in history began with someone who saw the world differently. They did not fit perfectly into the crowd. They asked questions others ignored. They noticed things others overlooked. They followed a path that made sense to them, even when it seemed unusual to everyone else. So the next time you catch yourself talking through a problem, needing time alone,